Hey, what's up guys? Today I'll show you a supernatural horror film, The Cleansing Hour. Spoiler ahead, watch out and take care. Father Max is conducting an exorcism ritual in a dark room. After performing his standard procedures, he successfully identifies the demon and exorcises the possessed person. The camera stretches, and it turns out it's a webcast exorcism ceremony. Following Mad Max's concluding remarks, it's now time to advertise their official Vatican-blessed merchandise. When the show, The Cleansing Hour, finishes, producer Drew claps his way in and praises everyone for their fantastic acting skills. Obviously, the exorcisms are just elaborately staged hoaxes performed by paid actors. Drew has some brilliant idea about business expansion, but Mad Max is not interested. Mad Max is wondering which actor to hire for the next episode. The crew go for drinks in a bar after work. As a YouTuber like Daniel CC, Mad Max does not forget to interact with his fans, even at his private time. Needless to say, his singing performance is broadcast for fun. To make it more entertaining, Mad Max even invites his best friend Drew to sing together. A while later, two fangirls approach Mad Max for his signature. It turns out, one of them does not only get Mad Max's signature, but also spends a hormone night with her idol for free. Due to a lightning-fast hormone gain last night, the fangirl wakes up with some dissatisfaction. She looks at Mad Max's sexy muscles, filled with strong hormones, and lust bursts out of her shining eyes once again. Mad Max is reluctant to answer her hormone invitation, but unwilling to piss his loyal fan off, he has to show her his hospitality. When the two are up for a hot session, Mad Max sees her horny hair suddenly turns gray. As soon as she looks up, she becomes a blind old lady, and Mad Max jumps out of bed with huge fright, which dies down his hormone chills instantly, even though she quickly resumes to normal. He then rushes out, leaving his hormone fan shocked and confused in the bed. On the other hand, Drew and his fiancée Lane are chatting about their marriage at home. Lane points out that Mad Max is selfish, and he does not care a single bit about Drew's feelings. Lane advises Drew to leave Mad Max as soon as possible, but Drew refuses to give up their business. Soon after, there comes another live stream. All the staffs are busy setting up the scene. The guest, a famous ladyboy, is making his way to the studio. Unfortunately, Ladyboy has lost his ways and begins wandering around. Noticing several weird figures are looming in the dark street, Ladyboy feels scared and trots immediately. Before he runs further, he's snatched by a demon. It is only 7 minutes before the webcast, but Mad Max and Ladyboy are missing in action. Drew decides to get his supportive fiancée involved, and he persuades her to step in as the possessed guest. Fans have long been waiting for the broadcast to begin. Finally, with only a few minutes left, Mad Max arrives at the studio. The sound specialist quickly prepares audio equipment for Mad Max, but the sound specialist is unwell. He looks dreamy and pukes before Mad Max. Meanwhile, Lane has changed clothes and been fastened to the chair. The broadcast kick starts with an argument between Mad Max and Lane. Mad Max has designed a brand new personality for Lane, a poor girl who has gone through a lot of hardships. Feeling sympathetic about her sufferings, the audience floods the comment sections. Lane is superb in acting. She has worn an uncomfortable facial expression and kept shaking her head. Lane looks really in pain and continues to plead for Father Max's help. Mad Max approaches her with professional verbal tricks. In the meantime, he also promotes his flagship item, the cleansing towel. As shown in the advertisement, this towel is said to be Vatican approved. After Mad Max says a prayer, the light specialist presses the switch and the lights keep flickering. Mad Max explains that the demon has disrupted the electronic magnetic field. While Mad Max presses to know the devil's name, the prop specialist turns on the dry ice switch, and smoke slowly rises from Lane's chair. Lane looks exactly like being possessed, especially her upward sounds so real. Knowing his fiancée is such a drama queen, Drew becomes shrilled. However, before Mad Max drives out the demon, the sound specialist suddenly collapses on the floor with much perspiration. When the sound specialist looks at Lane, he feels more scared and flees to the toilet. Actually, the sound specialist took hallucinogen before coming to the studio. He wants to wash up his face to stay alert, but as he turns on the tap, blood runs down instead of water. In terror, he falls down and bumps into the pipe behind him and faints right away. The broadcast continues. Mad Max moves to the next prop, the holy water. When he sprays holy water onto Lane, red smoke rises around her. As this effect is unprecedented, Mad Max is puzzled. He expects some explanation from Drew and the prop specialist, but both of them have no idea. Now the drama queen Lane is no longer cooperative, and she begins to behave differently. Drew softly reminds her to let Mad Max take the lead, but Lane starts talking nonsense. She even utters a word that everyone cannot understand. Suddenly, Lane lifts up her head and knocks down Mad Max. In rage, Mad Max takes out the cross and demands the devil identify himself. Lane seems to be a different person now. As she summons the prop man, he walks toward her. Unexpectedly, the prop specialist's flame tattoo on his arm ignites a raging fire. Everyone tries to put off the fire. One covers him with blankets, and another one sprays fire extinguishers on him. However, instead of extinguishing them, the flames become more vigorous. Shortly after, the prop specialist turns into a big chunk of charcoal. Shocked by those accidents, Drew tries to call the police. Unfortunately, there is no signal at all. Lane's voice also changes. Mad Max asks for help on the camera, but is interrupted by a chandelier that falls without warning. Lane warns Mad Max to save her soul tonight. At the same time, she warns Drew not to stop the live broadcast. Otherwise, she would immediately kill herself. Then, after a round of convulsion, Lane regains her sanity and cries out for help. Drew quickly runs over to Lane, but he's stopped by a flying table. Before everyone can tell, the demon rules over Lane again. Demon warns Drew not to come near. Frightened, Mad Max picks up scripture and begins to read. Drew reminds him to first get the name of the demon. Now the devil turns to the camera and asks the audience what Mad Max should do to save Lane. Drew advises Mad Max to keep the devil busy with talking, so as to buy him more time to do research about the devil. Although the threat is real and the atmosphere is so tense, the audience around the world is not aware of that. They simply enjoy the show, thinking it is all scripted and orchestrated. As such, they come up with unspeakable plans for Mad Max to carry out. In the end, Drew chooses the most harmless solution, that is to have Mad Max go naked. Mad Max has little choice but to strip off his clothes, but the devil's desire is insatiate. The rooftop scaffolding, lights, and fans suddenly fall around Mad Max, forming a stage for him. As if it's not creepy enough, the devil turns on music and forces Mad Max to dance. So the poor Mad Max dances on the broken glass of the lampshades and gets a slap by the rotating fan. In such severe torture, childhood memories flash across his mind. Mad Max and Drew are childhood friends who attended the same Catholic school. Mad Max was frail and often tormented by the nun. During such a painful time, Mad Max and Drew forged their friendship. Following some adjustment, Mad Max begins another round of confrontation. Now Lane and the devil are fighting for control over her body. From Lane's words, the rest infers that the devil comes with a certain plan. The devil seizes every opportunity to torture Lane. All of a sudden, Lane seems to be choking on something and is about to die. Mad Max steps forward to help her and pulls out a cleansing towel from her mouth. Lane spits out black blood and appears to be in pain. In despair, Mad Max reveals to his audience the real story behind the towel. Actually, this item is just ordinary cheap good, without any exorcism effect, and the holy water is just the tap water. Mad Max confesses that he's tempted by money and begs for forgiveness. As soon as he says that, Lane stops vomiting blood. But shortly after that, she is choked again. Mad Max goes to her and tries to dig up what is inside her mouth. Just when Mad Max puts his finger into Lane's mouth, the devil controls her to bite off his finger and spits out a coin. Seeing that, Drew knows it's now his turn to make the confession. He says that he steals most of the show's revenue. Mad Max is in too great a pain to care about such a matter, so he chooses to forgive the shitty Drew. During the chaos, the assistant decides to flee the studio, but to no avail. Before she can go further, a statue controlled by the devil hits her to death. Drew simply bandaged Mad Max's fingers. A while later, there are some errors with the live stream signal. Drew rushes to the warehouse to do a check. Finally, before things turn worse, Drew manages to plug in the fallen plug. At the same time, he discovers the sound specialist and tries to get some clue about the devil's name from him. Meanwhile, the devil again leads Mad Max back to his painful childhood memories. He recalls that when his teacher bullied him, Drew told him to recite the scripture, but the nun discovered all this. She banged Drew's head against the table. Back to the studio, the sound specialist describes the devil's appearance. It looks like a bird with tusks, as furry as a dog, and has a large, snake-like tail. Drew rushes back to his computer at once and keys in such valuable information. The system shortlists 7 demons, whose profiles are a close match. The sound specialist also returns to the studio and commits suicide. Mad Max then questions the devil about what he's supposed to do. Out of nowhere, some wires and a chair assemble in front of Mad Max, implying that he must commit suicide to end all this. The devil adds one decisive factor, that is, the audience's support must reach 100%. At that moment, Mad Max thinks of his traumatic childhood experience again. When he saw the sadistic nun torturing Drew, he pushed the nun away, and the nun fell onto a sharpened pencil, ending her nun life. Under suffering, Mad Max reveals to the audience that he's not a real priest, and the live exorcisms are fake and scripted. Even though he attended theological school when he was young, he's unfamiliar with church matters. When Mad Max finishes confessing his sins, the wires tighten around his neck. On the other hand, Lane bangs her head against the chair and spits blood. When Lane drops to the floor, she tells Drew he is fooled. Drew suddenly realizes what the devil truly desires is a public platform to show off its devil muscles and gain its followers. If both of them die, the broadcast will end, and the devil has no way to achieve its evil agenda. So Drew cuts off the connection and saves the two of them. But the devil demands Drew to resume the broadcast immediately. Mad Max begins a nonsense talk with the devil. Drew draws key information from their conversation and confirms the devil is called Amen. But before he can do anything, Drew is pulled over to be with Mad Max and Lane. The devil exposes to him that Mad Max and Lane had slept together before Lane dated him. Enraged by their hormone sheet, Drew beats Mad Max up and puts his hand around Mad Max's chick neck. In fact, Drew has no intention to kill Mad Max, and they just pretend to fight in order to trick the devil's eyes. Mad Max secretly switches on Drew's VR spectacle. Despite many hurdles, they manage to read out the verse and deliver peace to Lane. Because of that, Lane is finally brought back to normal. When the trio think the mess is over, the dead prop specialist suddenly stands up and proclaims that they can't exorcise him because they got his wrong name, and he's not Amen. Later, the devil reveals his horrid true nature and stares at the camera. At once, all the 17 million audiences across the globe are converted into the devil's followers and begin killing innocent lives around them. Having done that, the devil leaves the studio without bothering the trio anymore. However, this is only the beginning of humans' misery, since the demon has been released. This is Daniel CC Movie Channel. Stay safe and enjoy your day.